If you're a dungeon master, then you could be wasting everybody's time. What's up, guys? I'm Tanner, and this is Paladin Pros, where we explore living a more creative lifestyle through the hobby of role-playing games. Today, we're going to talk about the most common mistake that DMs make to waste precious table time, and cover some simple strategies that will ensure every single session that you run makes a serious impact on your players. So, I've been running D&D and other RPGs for nearly a decade now. When I first started back in college, me and my friends had all the time in the world to play D&D. Back in those days, throwing together a quick combat encounter that served no real purpose beyond giving my friends some monsters to fight didn't really seem like a big deal. I mean, it was fun, it killed 4 or 5 hours, and it bought me some time to prepare for bigger narrative beats next time. But then, something terrible happened. I got old. I'm still blessed to have a fantastic group of players, but we're all adults now. We all have full-time jobs, and we can only get together every other week. And we all get kind of tired after 4 or 5 hours of play. That means I now spend 8 to 12 hours a month playing D&D, whereas I used to spend that much time a week playing D&D. And that sucked. But it also forced me to totally rethink the way I run my games, for the better. Of course, this strategy is something that I learned over years of play, but I've put myself through the crucible of concise campaign prep and developed a strategy for a tight, character-based campaign structure so you don't have to. Basically, it's all about preparing for depth, not breadth. It's all about incorporating a sense of urgency into every single encounter you run. And really, it's all about making every single session truly matter in the overall scheme of your campaign's narrative. So, how are we going to get this done? Well, first off, if you haven't already, I want you to sit down with your notebook and ask yourself one simple question. What do the player characters want? Think about it and write an answer down for each character in your campaign. It really could be something as simple as a new magic sword or something as complex as finding a new identity. Whatever it is, I'm sure you have an answer, and if you don't, just ask. Your players will be thrilled to talk to you about what their characters are thinking, especially as the narrative evolves over time. Then, think about what needs to happen in order to get what they want. If your fighter wants a new magic sword, they're going to have to find it. And so, you need to decide where it is. I don't know, maybe it's in the belly of a giant ancient whale, like Jabu Jabu from Zelda. But that's a bit of an obscure piece of information, right? So how are the players even going to find that out? Well, I don't know. Maybe there's an old wives' tale about a giant whale that swallowed entire battleships during a historic conflict in your campaign setting. An old fisherman NPC has heard these rumors, and he thinks he knows how to find that whale. But right now, he's got bigger problems. Pirates are harassing his fishing operations, and he's got a family to feed. See where I'm going with this? In just a few minutes, we've laid the groundwork for 2 or 3 sessions of rich role-playing opportunity and involved gameplay. Each step of the way, the players will be working towards a goal that they created for themselves, and each session can and should move the players closer to accomplishing that goal. So, go through this exercise for every player in your group, then look at what you've written down. The fighter wants a magic sword, which is in the belly of a whale. The fisherman will take them to the whale, but first they need to deal with the band of pirates. But rather than material things, the rogue wants to leave their life of crime behind them, but in doing so, they've lost their sense of self. What could that possibly have to do with a magic sword in the belly of a whale? Well, maybe a little girl who lives in the fishing village has taken a liking to the rogue. The little girl thinks that they're a hero, which could then motivate the rogue to take on the pirates, ultimately bringing them a new sense of purpose and identity. Building a narrative web like this is so important, because it will always bring your session prep and encounter design back into focus if you start to feel too overwhelmed, lost, or unmotivated. Random encounters and trash mobs are a crutch that DMs rely on to get themselves through to the next session. But if you always have your players' wants in mind, no encounter needs to be truly random. This means no more fighting a group of wandering gnolls simply because you had 45 minutes to prep before your players showed up and you panicked, and that was the first monster that you flipped open to in the book. And by the way, this experience is extremely common, and it's really nothing to be ashamed of. I used to do it all the time. That's why your narrative web of characters' wants is so important. If you're short on time this week and you know your players are getting really close to the fishing village, but you haven't actually finished fleshing all of that out yet, don't worry. You can still throw together a quick combat encounter that will go down on the way to the fishing village. Just quickly consider what's going on in your narrative and what about that may lead to potential conflict. Maybe some of the pirates have already made landfall and they're harassing travelers on the road, imposing a bogus tax on anyone that means to enter the village. Or if you are sick of running bandits, maybe the disrupted fishery is causing a general lack of prey in the local ecosystem, starving the local owlbear population and driving them to attack innocent passersby. Both of these scenarios are simple to set up and run as any other random encounter would be, but they plant narrative seeds that give them deeper meaning for you and your players. And however your players react to this encounter could and should be the fuel that you need to inspire your next session. And this is exactly the difference between railroading your players and running a tight, impactful campaign. Maybe, to your surprise, the rogue decides that the little girl is actually just an annoying brat. Or the dice may fall in such a way that the pirates end up defeating the party, or even killing the fighter outright before they can get to the village. And if something like that happens, that's okay. When unexpected twists and turns arise, there's simply new opportunities to develop a new set of wants and a new branch of your narrative web. Trust yourself to make the right decision in the moment and roll with the dice. Then, in between sessions, consider the implications of what just happened and adjust things accordingly. Okay, so the whole whale thing may be scrapped now, but are the players going to allow the pirates to take over the village? Maybe. Or maybe they decide they want revenge. I don't know, in between sessions, maybe it becomes clear to you that the pirates are actually the rightful owners of the land the fishing village now sits on. It's the fisherman and his operation that are the true invaders. This doesn't have to be all planned out in advance either. I often make big narrative swings like this, either in the heat of the moment because it feels right, or as a shower thought between sessions that I quickly write down before I forget. Then, when I have time to sit down and prepare for the next session, I adjust things accordingly and go back to the character's wants, consider how they will react to these new situations, and the cycle and narrative threads continue. And that, my friends, is how I learned to make every single session count. Don't get me started on shopping episodes, that is a video for another time. And if you made it this far, seriously guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to be kind to yourself, and until next time, venture forth.